After unwrapping your machine, you're ready to place it on a level surface. Make sure the surface is level, otherwise this can cause the barrel to warp on one side. The manufacturers recommend that the machine is left running for 5 minutes to allow the motor to warm up. If you find that the roller is not rotating correctly, the most likely cause is the belt has slipped out of place. The belt can be found at the side of the machine and can easily be put back in place. So the next thing we're going to discuss is what to put in your barrel. A lot of people will actually turn this hobby into visiting local areas, their beaches, perhaps a river area, and they will actually collect stones. That is great. Do bear in mind that stones, certainly in the UK, can be a little bit duller. It is possible to find bright colour stones, but a lot of the classic colours that you see in tumblestones, if you ever go to a gift shop and you see those lovely kind of glossy stones, tend to be the stones that come from abroad, like tiger's eye, and amethyst and rose quartz, lapis, those type of things that people just look at and think, wow. You can find them in this country, but the stones that you're likely to pick up yourself will be a little bit more dull than what perhaps you'll see in the shops. Nonetheless, still beautiful, still usable in loads of ways, but just something to bear in mind. The best rocks to use in these tumbler machines are ones that can be obtained from rocktumble.com. These are specially sourced rocks from all over the world that are classic rocks such as lapis, amethyst, quartz and jaspers. They are pre-sized and ready to go in your tumbler machine. For optimum efficiency, choose a range of sizes in stone. You can use one very large stone as long as you have lots of smaller stones surrounding it. In this video I will be using a rubber barrel. For those of you who have plastic barrels, the process is very much the same. If you struggle to take the end caps off, submerge these in hot water. You will find that the end caps come off much more easily. For those of you using a rubber barrel, remove the butterfly nut, the washer, the outer metal lid, the inner lid and seal, then you're ready to place the rocks into the barrel. Fill the barrel up approximately 3/4 full of rock. Give it a good shake to settle. Then simply add water to just above the top of the rocks. Add the first stage grit into the barrel. This is also known as the coarse grit or F80 grade. The amount you need will depend on the size of the barrel. For a 3-pound barrel, you will need 1.5 heaped tablespoons. For a 2-pound machine, you will need just 1. And if you're running 2 barrels simultaneously, you will need 3/4 of a heaped tablespoon. Finally, place the inner lid and the seal with the outer lid on top, followed by the washer and then the butterfly nut. Tighten fairly hard to make sure there's no leakages. Place the barrel on the machine and leave running. This process will take on average 7 days. Periodically, open the barrel and look at the stones around about day 4 from the tumbling process. You're looking to see that the rocks have lost their sharp edges and are starting to round. Some people decide to use an intermediate stage, which is exactly the same process but using a medium grit, also known as F220. This stage isn't required, but it is useful if your stones are rather pitted or you do not want to lose too much of the stone in the first stage. Once the stones have lost their jagged sharp edges, you can empty them into a tray and then wash thoroughly. It is very important that you wash the stones thoroughly to make sure that there is no residue left. Any of the F80 residue can cause the next stage to scratch and mark the stones. It is also very important to wash the barrel out thoroughly before using it in the next stage. Place the stones back in the barrel. Check carefully, as sometimes you may find that the stones require a little bit more work on the first stage. You can either put these to one side and add them on your next tumbling batch, or if you have two barrel system, you can place into the second barrel. Once again, add the water to just over the top of the stones. Either move on to the fine stage by adding F400 into the barrel, or if you do want to add an intermediate stage, you can add the F220 medium grit between the two, before then moving on to the fine F400 stage. The quantities are exactly the same as the first stage. Once again, replace the lid as assembled in the first stage. Place the barrel on the machine and leave running. This process will take on average 7 days. On the 7th day, open the barrel and look at the stones. You're now looking to see that the stones are fully rounded and all the sharp edges have been removed. This is a very important stage and cannot be done any quicker. Once you are happy with the shape of the stones, you can remove them and wash them thoroughly. You will also need to spend time completely washing the barrel out. It is advisable at this stage to use a second barrel kept separate for the polishing stage. This will reduce the chance of any residue from the silicon carbide stages ruining the polishing process. Once again, place the stones in the barrel. Take care to look at the stones and reserve any that need further work, especially if they are still pitted or jagged. Once again, add the water to just over the top of the stones. For the polishing stage, the amounts required depend on the type of polish that you have. For all the kits provided on rocktumble.com, pumice powder is used. For pumice powder, those with a 3-pound barrel, you will require 3 heaped tablespoons. For those with a 2-pound barrel, it's 2.5, and for those with a 1.5 pound for the simultaneous double machines, it's 1.5 heaped tablespoons. Pumice powder is a best all-round polish that's cost effective. If you want a better polish, cerium oxide is more expensive but will produce better results. You also require less in the barrel. Place the barrel back on the machine. The amount of time you need to run will depend on the polish. For pumice powder and zinc oxide, it's an average of 10 to 14 days. For tin oxide, it's around about 8 to 9 days, and for cerium oxide, it's 7 days. Some people like to add plastic pellets. This makes the polish go a little bit more further, but it also cushions the stones. Very useful if you have fragile stones such as quartz. Every few days, check the status of the stones. You want to make sure they are polishing correctly. There is no harm in adding additional polish if needed. Once you're happy with the results, tip them out into a tray and wash thoroughly. Not all the stones will appear shiny. Some rocks do not give that shine, no matter how long you polish them for. The stones that you see in shops have often been artificially buffed afterwards using resins and beeswax. This is something that you can certainly do after the process has been completed. As far as stone tumbling uses are concerned, there are a wide range of craft, design, art, etc. uses that people do use their tumblestone machines for. Some examples I'd like to give you are classic tumblestones, which people sell actually, and they sell them as healing crystals, etc. Also, you can turn these tumblestones into runes, as well as making jewellery, such as earrings, pendants, and even add to key rings. Once you get used to making different various jewellery and artwork from them, you can even make your own gentries by using smaller stones and wire as well as a wooden base. You can actually craft some wonderful items. Tumblestones also make ideal party bags for children, because children do love these stones, and people even turn them into mosaics or pictures. There are so many ideas that I'm sure you can come up with some ideas of your own.